Hey everybody, Mike here. For the uninitiated, there was a Kickstarter to create a G.I. Joe scale, or 3 3/4 inch or 1/18 scale attack helicopter that looked just like the one from the 80s TV show Airwolf. Apparently, the project has failed. They took $70,000 and kind of made off with it. A lot of people are mad at Retro Blasting, aka Michael French, for just discussing this Kickstarter several years ago. And, he didn't have any financial stake in it. He paid 600 something dollars himself, that he is out, I believe. But, people are trying to criticize him for giving this Kickstarter a platform, whenever, you know, not only is that not his fault, but he's not the only content creator that gave these people a platform. The other content creator didn't even actually buy the project. Kick into the Kickstarter. He just talked about it. That's somebody we like to call Michael Mercy, or the Canadian warrior poet. He did pull the video afterwards, to try to kind of cover his tracks, and pretend like he never talked about it. I'm guessing so. The video is downloaded, and I'm just going to showcase the original video for you guys here on my YouTube channel. For anybody who is wondering what's going on with this situation.
Hi there. Got an interesting Kickstarter to share with Airwolf fans out there. And I'm a relatively new Airwolf fan. I never watched back in the day because I didn't have USA Network. But I've discovered it in the last few years with that beautiful remastered Blu-ray. And I have really grown to love the lady. And this Kickstarter is for a 1/18 scale, aka G.I. Joe scale, Airwolf helicopter, which is something I've always wondered, why didn't they do it? And there have been some Airwolf collectibles in the past. Back in the 80s when the show was on, there was some Ertl diecast Airwolves released. I do have the bigger one of the Ertl ones. It can't hold any figures, and it's not even mask scaled, but it's something. And then there were more recent Airwolf replicas, which are electronic. They do have spinning rotors, but they're very, very expensive, and they're even smaller than that original Ertl one. So it's cool to finally see a giant Airwolf. It's so much more than just an attack helicopter. Anyone who's seen the show knows that this is basically the Knight Rider of helicopters. And taking a look at the Kickstarter here, there are a number of different levels that you can pledge to, which will get you different rewards. Some of the features are that it's going to be made out of durable resin, vacuum formed plastic for the clear canopy windows. It's also going to have some steel hinges, and magnets is a big thing. I really love the use of magnets in modern collectibles. I use them for my recarded G.I. Joe figures when I get some repro bubbles and cards, and just magnetize the figure onto there so I can open it up if I need to pull it out for a shoot, or even just futz around with it. The Kickstarter page has some renders showing off the 3-person cockpit. That's really, really appreciated that it's going to look just like it did on the show. One peeve of mine, and I understand why certain limitations were done, but when a vehicle from a show or a movie, like Ecto-1 for example, was a 2-seater, even though it was supposed to carry 4 Ghostbusters. So if this had come out in the 80s, it probably would have been a 2-seater, if not a 1-seater. Seeing a giant 3-seater Airwolf that can hold Dom, Caitlin, and String is just so cool. Look at some of the weaponry, which will utilize magnets. So ideally, it would be cool if it could pop out, but magnets are a pretty okay consolation, and maybe in a way even better just hear me out on this. Things that can pop in and out, especially on aircraft, it's a cool feature, but they break. Anyone who has like a Rattler or a Sky Striker or a Night Raven, you can only do that so many times, but a magnet will really never lose its power. So you can plop that on and take it off as many times as you want without having to worry about it busting. So much more detail in the cockpit than I was expecting. These really beautiful sticks here for the figures to hold on to. Boy, I hope those don't break. Those look like they might be really fragile. All sorts of instrumentation detail. Even the seats have some really beautiful detail on them. Really, like, there's even the foot gear. They've gone all out with the detail here. This is just like a big model, basically. It's like a big Hot Wheels Airwolf, just made out of resin. All the computer weaponry systems in the back for Dom to mess around with. And here's what the cockpit looks like with some 1/18 scale figures in them. A couple of lift tickets and dial tone in the back, manning the weapons. That's awesome that this can just come right off for ease of putting figures in and out. That's another major hassle when you're trying to put figures into aircraft or vehicles. You can't get your big adult fingers in there and get things to sit quite right. But in this case, the whole thing just comes right off, and you can position guys however you want. You can have them holding on. That's the trouble with a lot of cars, I find. You can't get the driver's hand on the shift or around the steering wheel, and you just kind of have them with their hand in the general vicinity of it. But with this whole piece coming off, you'll be able to be a lot more careful and avoid breakage in there. Here's all the details with the coloring, and just incredible detail. All the gauges, very, very impressive. In the back here, the creator of Airwolf, that's a really nice touch. That's something longtime Airwolf fans will really get a kick out of, seeing all the tiny little Easter eggs, little callbacks to the show. Now, the seat back here is going to be magnetized, and that is just absolutely brilliant. So instead of having like a slot like the G.I. Joe Mobile Command Center had, which was kind of cool that the seat could move up and down so that figures could kind of move around the computer system stuff, being on a magnet, with this you won't have to deal with legs not fitting in like in a lot of 1/18 scale vehicles. You'll just be able to slide it to where it needs to be, and you can put any figure in there that you want. Landing gear will actually retract and lock into place with magnets, so that's awesome that you won't actually have to pull off the landing gear and set it aside. It will actually go into the thing, and it's very reassuring knowing that it's held in place with magnets instead of a clip that can break like on so many G.I. Joe aircraft. Limiting wear and tear, exactly. That's something I'd like to see in some of the Hasbro, the G.I. Joe, official G.I. Joe vehicles. That's a great idea. That looks so cool. 29 inches long. So if you've got a Cobra Night Raven, then you know exactly how huge this thing is going to be. Night Raven, you need to see it in person just to believe how awesome it is, how gigantic it is, and that's actually a great comparison. Very similar color scheme, very stealthy, kind of dwarfs the Tomahawk. And the Tomahawk is a giant helicopter. Very impressive. Now this is another really awesome idea. Never would have thought of this, but with that Ertl die-cast Airwolf that I have, displaying it is a little tricky because of how long it is. It's kind of awkward. You basically have to put it, if you're going to put it on a shelf, it has to be the long way, and you can't have it facing out at you because the tail is so long. So the tail is detachable, to have a smaller footprint. That's a cool idea. You can have it basically kind of coming out of the wall and have the cockpit forward. That's, I think, the idea behind that, so that you can actually display the figures, which we'll get to in a minute. Really brilliant idea. Some of us have collections that are starting to get a little crowded and space is limited. So being able to just hack off a very long, well, not hack, but detach a very long piece that is just going to take up all that room and not do much. It's not like you can put figures in that piece. It's not like it carries weaponry. That's a cool idea. Maybe not a lot of people are going to use that, but it's going to be extremely handy for the people who just don't have 29 inches. Maybe they have just a little bit less than that to display the whole thing. And detachable magnetic body and parts. Big magnet is going to hold the tailpiece on there. I don't think that's going to be an issue with that falling out. These magnets today are super powerful. Little tiny ones I use on my recarded G.I. Joe figures are ridiculously strong for how teeny tiny they are. So a magnet that big, I don't think that's going to be any issue. I'm not involved with this project. Let me just give you that disclaimer. I don't know the people doing this project. If something happens with your order, please don't message me and ask me, hey, where's my order? Or I've got a problem. I'm not involved with this. I'm just an Airwolf lover who is thinking this is really, really awesome and wanting to share it with some other people who love Airwolf. But I'm not the person to contact with any issues, if there are any down the road. And that just looks so awesome. It's not deformed in any way. Nothing is bigger than it should be or smaller than it should be. It's perfect. You can see the pilot through the cockpit there. So this is cruise mode right here. Weapons detached. Love that you can have it both with no weapons displayed or all weapons displayed. There's the windows right there. Look great. Rotor will spin, I'm assuming. That looks like a magnet. That should be fine too. And this is so cool too. The figures, finally. Is this the first time ever we're seeing Airwolf figures? That is old Stringfellow Hawk, Dominic Santini, and Caitlin. There's the three of them there. So glad that all three of the crew is going to be represented here. Sometimes Caitlin gets left out. I'm talking about the Airwolf crew. She was a later addition. And I'm really glad that she's going to be in there as well. And Archangel is there with his cigar, with his... I wonder if he'll have his cane and his glasses with the patch on it. The white suit, I would say, is a gimmick too. Is he going to have his hat? That's another gimmick. He's got tons of gimmicks, but really cool to include Archangel as well, the man who sends the lady out on her missions. This is awesome too. If you aren't going to get the pilots, Airwolf will come with 3 crew helmets. So you can put Joe's in and wear the official proper Airwolf helmet. So you could put, well, not Lift Ticket, not Wild Bill. You might have an issue finding a G.I. Joe helicopter pilot that isn't already wearing a permanent helmet, but you could, I guess, put Duke in there. That might fit over Scarlet's head, I don't know. And the heads, there they are. Archangel with his patch and mustache. Would mustache be considered a gimmick as well? And for longtime Airwolf fans, an iguana. If you remember the intro, the iguana hanging off the wheel. Every Airwolf will be shipped in a sturdy outer box. If you want to go extra for your display, we offer a beautiful display-worthy box for both Airwolf and the crew. So this is the, I guess, the special edition box, which will have the Airwolf graphic and this awesome Airwolf insignia. Wolf with the wings on the top of it, and then a special crew box as well. Airwolf t-shirt is available on some of the support level tiers. Definitely check out this video. I'll stick it at the end of this video so that you can watch it, or I'll also leave the link in the description of this video. they're actually going through the prototype, and it is just so awesome. There's the Airwolf insignia, and let's take a look at some of the reward tiers. So there's a couple of different levels. If you want to support this Kickstarter, there's a $22 pledge or more, you get the Airwolf t-shirt. $150 pledge gives you the 4-member crew pack. So you get String, Dominic, Caitlin. Here's another gimmick. This guy's gimmicks just never end. Michael Goldsmith Briggs III. Just everything about this character to me. Well, Hannibal did say Overkill is underrated, but I don't know. How many gimmicks does this guy have? That name is a gimmick. So the estimated delivery on all of this stuff is April of next year, 2022. I would think that most adult toy collectors would understand that any estimated delivery date is a best case scenario. I mean, delays happen so often with all of this kind of stuff that when I put in a pre-order on Big Bad Toy Store for something, I don't even care what the estimated arrival date is anymore, or a third-party Transformers company. I don't even care. Sometimes it's delayed a year. I always go back to the old saying, do you want it fast or do you want it good? And this has the potential to be very, very good. And I hope they take all the time they need. I understand that when you put down this amount of money, eventually you do need to get what you paid your hard-earned money for. Definitely you need to get what you paid for, but I also understand that this is not a big mass-produced product by a giant corporation. And the next level is $225 for a do-it-yourself edition Airwolf. So the one up from that is $350. That's the built Airwolf. It'll come to you all assembled. If you want to save a couple bucks for $225, I'm thinking this is going to be closer to what the Joe vehicles used to be back in the day, some assembly required. And not only will that save you a couple bucks, that might actually be a more fun way of doing it, putting together your Airwolf, because I always had so much fun putting together my old Joe vehicles. It was almost like model building, just a lot easier, no glue required. I don't know, you might not want to deny yourself the experience of actually assembling your Airwolf, and if it's like a Joe vehicle, I would think it wouldn't be that hard or frustrating to put it together. You get all the features that have been mentioned: rotating seats, rotating tail rotors, so much stuff on this thing moves, holds 3 figures, 3 helmets included. You get the iguana, magnetized parts, and then the next one up is the built edition. If you've got the coin and you just don't want to be bothered, it'll be built. Decals will be provided. You get the Airwolf shirt, all of the other details previously mentioned. And then if you've got HasLab money, $550 is the Masterpiece edition of this project. You get your Airwolf built. It's painted, numbered, and signed. You get the full crew, which was the separate $150 level that you could support. You get the deluxe Airwolf box, which we looked at a little earlier right there. You get the deluxe crew box as well. So if you're a real box aficionado, that's the other big bonus of doing the Masterpiece level, and all of the other features that have been mentioned before. So this Kickstarter has a little less than a month to go, and well, that's Canadian funds right there because I'm in Canada, eh? So it's got a little ways to go, but this is very true. It is about time. It's been so long since there's been anything Airwolf other than those little really expensive replica Airwolf choppers, and like a lot of those 80s shows, the vehicles were cool, but just as important were the people in the vehicles. And so many times companies like Hot Wheels, other miniature makers make the vehicle, and the people driving or flying the vehicle are forgotten. I just think it's so awesome that Dom, String, and Caitlin are going to actually be sitting in this Airwolf. I mean, you can have the body of a thing, but where's the heart? Where's the soul? And to me, Kit, for example, is a really, really cool car, but the soul of Kit is Michael Knight. And same goes for the General Lee. General Lee is just a car, unless Bo and Luke Duke are sitting in it. The Fall Guy truck is awesome, but without Colt Seavers in there, it's just a kind of a cool brown truck. So having the pilots, that's huge. That's really cool, and I'm glad that they went to the effort of including the pilots. So if you're an Airwolf fan, what do you think of finally a 1/18 scale G.I. Joe sized Airwolf helicopter with all of these cool little features and details, playability, things to futz with? Let me know in the comment section, and feel free to share it with any Airwolf fans that you know. Have a good one.